Hello, everybody, and welcome. I have my little furry friend Piper joining me here today, and I'm really excited to be here with you. I'm actually traveling again, and I am live streaming to you from Grosse Pointe, Michigan. I'm actually doing a little traveling, visiting family. I actually have a class reunion, believe it or not. And so I'm in town for that and my mom's birthday. So, anyway, so I'm actually live streaming from my iPad. And my little friend here, Piper, is probably going to sit on my lap for the whole time because she's in a strange place, a little bit. She's a little nervous. Aren't you, Pipes? All right, guys. Anyway, I'm actually really looking forward to spending some time with you today because we are going to talk about a topic that honestly literally changed my world. I can't even begin to tell you how much this one bit of knowledge really shifted everything for me in my business and my ability to generate revenue. It was absolutely monumental. And that strategy it's really all about the sales process. Okay. And I know sometimes we kind of cringe when we think, oh, sales, right? Like, I don't want to think about sales. I wish I didn't have to sell. I just want to be able to work and do what I love and not have to worry about the sales part. I get it. Completely understand that. The reality is, though, if you are in business for yourself, we have to be able to have these conversations with potential clients in a really powerful and authentic way that leads to more yeses. And guys, I would go so far as to say in today's economy, let's just call it what it is. Things are a little bit uncertain. I think, there are people that, are just really, before they spend money, they're really thinking hard about it, right? So you have to be able to seal the deal because, if you're getting fewer leads, you just have to be able to, have an amazing, emotionally based conversation with your potential client, right? So anyway, so we are going to dig into, honestly, this is one of my favorite topics. And what I'm going to do today is I'm going to walk you through 6 steps to more sales without selling your soul. All right. So I put that without soul in because I feel really good. I don't want it to feel slicky, slacky. It's got to feel authentic and comfortable. So I have a overview that I'm going to share. So first of all, there is a system and a strategy for your consultations that actually gets you more yeses. And that is what we're going to talk about. So, and again, it's especially important. I kind of frame this conversation as a way to recession-proof your business. So if you find yourself, kind of going, I don't have quite as many leads as I had coming in, you got to be able to close the leads that you get, right? And what we want to do is move these people into programs and packages, okay? Because we want to provide them with a service that really is going to deliver results. And let's just call it is really tough to do that in the one session at a time model, right? Okay, so we are going to be talking about that. I'm going to be sharing the 6 steps in a highly effective consultation. And that is, I would say that is really the overview. So I'm gonna lead you through a 6-step process today that you can take with you anytime you have a conversation with someone about potentially working with you. All right. So let's go ahead and dive in. And also, for those of you that don't know me, my name is Leslie Bytel. I'm really happy to be here with you. I'm excited to share these 6 steps. As I mentioned earlier, these 6 steps were absolutely life-changing for me and my business. Okay. So before I learned this, and this is me coming from having an MBA, having, 13 years in corporate sales and marketing. When I had my private practice, it was a really big shift. Instead of selling a thing, right, in the corporate world, like a widget, um, it was a shift. I was suddenly having to sell myself, and I was having to, have these conversations with my potential clients who were struggling. They're really struggling with their health. They're human beings, right? And so, what made all the difference in the world for me, and I think it'll do the same for you, is when I learned to put these 6 steps into play. Suddenly, I went from honestly just kind of winging these conversations and fingers crossed, hoping for the best, to OMG, suddenly I'm able to, have these amazing conversations where I felt really, really good, regardless of whether or not the person said yes. Interestingly, most people did. I think my closure rate, was like close to 80% once I learned this. Um, but what's even more important is it felt good. So, regardless of whether or not the person said yes, the really nice thing about it is that they got tons of value, right? Tons and tons of value, but I wasn't doing the work for free. So, that's another thing I really want to be clear on, guys, is when you have these consultations, right? So like let's say someone reaches out to you, let's just say they find you online, they find your website, they look at your website, or maybe they find you on healthprofs.com. So they find you, they reach out to you, and you're going to end up having a conversation with them in most cases to, talk about their situation, really get a sense of whether or not they're a good fit for what you do. Now, granted, some of these conversations will be complimentary. I think probably most of my clients offer a complimentary consultation as a first step. And oftentimes that's directly from their website, right? Some of you may decide, you know what, I don't want to do complimentary consults. I want to instead charge for this. So it's fine, however you choose to do it. There's more than one way to approach this for sure. So, but the bottom line is, again, no matter how people find you, right? So I'd love to know how many of you are spending tons of time on Instagram, posting constantly, doing reels, like doing all the things, right? If that's you, give me a yes. Or better yet, tell me how you are going about getting leads. Okay, so what are you doing in your business right now to generate more leads? So just if you guys could comment, that would be super helpful for me, just so I get a better sense of, where you're at. The bottom line, no matter how you are getting leads, no matter, how it goes, how people are finding you, they're reaching out, right? So they reach out to you probably on your website, and then they say, or you invite them into a chat, right? Is that usually how it goes? Let's see. Less lately, time on social. I'm generating leads from, okay, so taking insurance. Okay, great. All right. Health profs, Instagram, Facebook, word of mouth. Awesome. Social media, which your VA does, and your website and blog. Awesome. All right. So it looks like you are generating leads in a variety of different ways, right? And honestly, even if you are in the insurance model, because I've worked with lots and lots of practitioners in that particular model, I still think that now I realize you can't charge people up front for a package, right? I understand that, especially in the insurance model. But that being said, I think you still want to get the client on track for a longer term commitment, right? Because, they come to see you once or twice and then they tend to drop off. And we don't want that. We want them to get the results that they look for, that they desire, right? So, with all that being said, this 6 steps that I'm going to share with you, these are 6 steps that you take during a discovery call. to really be able to nail it, right? And it's, guys, I want to preface it by saying, many of us are clinicians at heart, and we come from a very, very, like we're out, we're looking at the labs, we're looking at things from a very clinical standpoint, which is great, but you're not really doing that on this call. Okay. This is not a deep dive into, like all the labs and what you would do. And like, we're not really doing that. I want you to take a step back and understand that our brains are wired. Hello, Piper. um, my little furry partner today. All right, so the way we make decisions, and it's so fascinating because this is shown to be 100% of the time, we make decisions based on emotion. Did you guys know that? I'm sure you've probably heard it. We make decisions based on our emotions primarily, especially when it comes to decision to change, right? Like basically in this conversation, you're really almost selling the idea of change, making positive health changes, right? It really needs to be more of an emotional type of conversation, right? Instead of really hardcore clinical, right? So I do want to preface this, what we're going to talk about today. Oh, great. Piper heard a horn honking. All right, Pipes. So, all right, so let's go ahead and jump in. Oh my, never a dull moment, right? All right. So I'm going to pull up my notes. Now, guys, the one thing I want to share with you, I want to make sure that you guys go and download. You see the link on your screen here, lesliebytel.com/6-steps. Okay. lesliebytel.com/6-steps. All right. And go ahead and download the infographic because I'm going to go through all of those steps with you. All right. So let me pull mine up. I would do a screen share, but I do not think I can do that. Hang on one second. Okay. I don't think I can do that on my iPad. So, all right. So we're going to just go ahead and go through it. All right. So let's jump in. All right. So again, the infographic that you're going to download that corresponds with the steps I'm going to talk about is called 6 Steps to More Sales. And I am going to cover the first step right now. All right. All right, Piper, what are you doing here? Let's see if you'll get down. All right. All right. So step number 1 is to adopt a winning mindset. All right, guys. So very important. So this particular step actually happens in part before you even get on your call, believe it or not. Here's a few tips on the mindset piece. All right. So the first thing is I really want you to lean in to the incredible value that you provide. Okay. I really want you to think about, maybe meditate a little bit upon those people, those clients, the people that you've helped in the past. And I really, really want you to hone in on how their lives changed as a result of your work. Okay. Super important. We really want to lean into the value. And this really helps to shift our mindset from, oh my gosh, are they going to like me? What do I say? All these fears that we tend to come to the table with. And instead, it allows us to really focus on our value. And what that means is you're going to come across in a much more confident place. And your client is going to sense that, right? Your potential client. They are going to sense that, wow, this person really knows what they're doing. Okay. And to me, that is the best way to embrace your value. All right. So you're going to own your own value and expertise. And here's the other part I want to spend just a couple minutes talking about, and that is I really want you to establish leadership from the start. Now, I will say, I'd love to see if you guys are willing to kind of raise your hand in the chat and admit if this is you. It used to be me, so no shame, right? And I hear this all the time. All right, so what I'm suggesting is that you set an agenda. So instead of you just going in and like it's just like there's no plan, you've got your potential client, sitting there and they end up running the conversation and picking your brain and, it just doesn't feel good, right? I want you to do something different. Well, first of all, how people who does that? Like, just be honest. If you don't want to admit it in the comments, that's fine. But if you do, that would be great too. I fully admit I used to do this. I would go to the call, I would not give an agenda, I would just kind of wing it. I would answer questions, and then I would kind of quasi at the end, kind of invite them to step in. It did not work. I can tell you that right now. Or here's the other thing I used to do. And guys, they used to teach this in coach training, to do a demo session. Okay, so they used to teach us in coach training. So I've had a lot of different levels of coach training, and they used to say, okay, do a demo session, and the person's going to love it so much that they're going to come back for more. Not true. Could not be further from the truth. Okay, it does not work. So a lot of those strategies, that we may have learned in the past, a lot of them just simply don't work. All right. So in terms of establishing yourself, okay. All right. So someone says here, not anymore. Since I met you, yay. Unfortunately, I can't see who you are. Um, Facebook is very particular. So yeah, let me know who it is. Anyway, I love that. So, all right. So we are going to open this conversation. We're going to greet our potential client. We're going to try to help them to feel comfortable because interestingly, a lot of times people become very nervous, right? They don't know what to expect. So we're going to set their minds at ease by giving them an agenda. We're going to just let them know what to expect. I like to say, here's how I like to run these sessions, you know, and then I check in. How's that sound? Is that what you were hoping for? Is there anything else, on your wish list that you would like to talk about? And honestly, I don't think I've ever had someone say, "No, that's not what I wanted," right? They go, "Oh, that sounds great. That sounds amazing." Right? So give them an agenda. And another reason why this is so critical is if you give them an agenda up front, when, not if, but when they start veering off into all kinds of different tangents and, really going like over the top and telling you their entire life story, right? That happens. You can gently rein them back in, right? Because you've set the agenda. All right. So I really want to be clear about that. Oh, hey, Dorothy. How are you? Dorothy Dawn. Love it, love it, love it. I'm in Michigan, Dorothy. I am in the Detroit area in Grosse Pointe right now. So Dorothy Dawn, Dorothy Dawn is also a Michigander. So I'm here, as I said earlier in my when I first went live. I'm actually here. I'm going to go to a class reunion on Saturday. Don't ask me how many years. Do not. A lot. Many, many years. Okay. All right, guys. So is everyone clear on the first step? Right? So the first step in this process, some of it happens before you get on the call, some of it happens during the call, but it's really your mindset and leaning into your confidence, your worth, getting really clear on the life-changing value you provide to your clients, and setting the tone right up front that you're the leader here, right? And just not letting that potential client kind of bulldoze you over with, all these questions, right? You really want to come from a place of, hey, I'm a busy practitioner. I do these calls regularly. This is how I like to run things. Okay. All right. So, All right, let's see. Okay. Yeah, jealous. Okay. Yeah, it's beautiful here. I agree about taking charge. You helped me with that a lot. I like how you have the person call you, which makes you the person in charge right away. They're obeying you. Yeah. Oh, thanks, Dorothy, for mentioning that. That's another tip. So I'm sharing a few little extra special tips that are not on your PDF, guys. And Dorothy, I'm really glad that you brought that up. So, how many, I'd be curious about this. How many, could you just let me know in the comments, phone or video? Are you doing your enrollment calls on the phone or are you doing them on video? Are you meeting on video as an example? I'd be really curious about that. So if you're on the phone, then for sure that call, they call you. And they also call you for the follow-up call, right? So at the end, you're not going to say, "Hey, so let me know what you decide." To think about it. You're not going to say, "Okay, so just send me an email or a text and let me know what you decide." Do not that mistake. It's a huge mistake. Instead, at the end, you're going to say, again, this is me. They want to, assuming they're not sure yet, you are going to tomorrow, time to call to see you not okay. So, you guys, uh, did I go blank there for a minute? My iPad, and not plugged into the internet. So hopefully this is working okay. All right. So phone, I prefer phone, but a lot of people do like video. Hey, Marcia. Yes, I've struggled with the runaway conversation for sure. Who hasn't, right? Especially in this space. So seriously, give the agenda. It is the antidote to the runaway conversation, 100%. And then when they start going off, like really just going down the rabbit hole, you can rein them in very gently, right? I like to say, what you're describing is so important. And I really, truly want to know, I want to know all of this. That being said, for the sake of our conversation today, because we just have this limited time, I really am going to suggest that we kind of put that in a bucket and we'll cover that, assuming we decide to move forward and work together. For right now, let's focus over here, right? So the person feels validated, they feel heard, and they don't feel like, oh my gosh, another person that's not going to listen to me, but you're just gently refocusing. So great. Awesome. Okay, guys, just a reminder, get your download, lesliebytel.com/6-steps, because I'm going through those exact steps on that infographic. All right, guys? All right, so step one, adopt a winning mindset. So we spent a fair amount of time talking about that. I really think it's important because it sets the tone for the whole conversation, right? And I'll just say one more thing. Your people, your potential clients, they want a leader, right? They want, because they're confused, they're stuck, they're really struggling, and they're sick of it. That is why they're talking to you. So do not hesitate to step into that role. That is truly what they want, right? They want you to be the leader. And from moving forward, that's what you're going to do, right? Thumbs up if that's a yes. Give them an agenda and really come into that conversation with confidence. All right. So now we're going to move to step two. I always like to say, if you can nail step two, you are probably at least 50% there. Okay. This is another one that I find can be challenging, especially, honestly, especially those of us that just are really super clinical. Okay. Nothing wrong with being clinical. But what I'm asking you to do here is maybe just kind of try to tap into your own emotional brain for this part of the conversation, okay? Because we want to give that person some space to talk about their pain, all right? We want to give them, now, I'm not suggesting we give them an hour to talk about everything that's wrong in their lives. Not at all, okay? Don't want that. That's not going to help anyone. So it's very focused on the problem that you can help solve. The caveat, though, is you're going to go deeper than well, I just want to lose weight, or I've got IBS, right? That is not deep enough. That's very, surface level. Remember, we're tapping into emotions here. So the way you go about going a little bit deeper is to ask really compelling questions around the pain. Things like, tell me more about that. How does it make you feel, right? How does that make you feel carrying around this extra 20 pounds and really just, you know, struggling with this confusion and, just clearly you said you've tried everything and nothing is working. Gosh, how does it make you feel inside? Okay. You're tapping into the emotions by asking questions like that. Again, it does not have to take a super long time. But you do want to explore, I would say, 1 to 2 levels deeper than just the surface answer of, whatever their chief complaint is, right? So it's really the pain point part is about how that pain or struggle or diagnosis, how is that getting in your way from living the life you want to live? Tell me more about that. Okay. This is going to help people to really get clear on their big why. What's at stake if they don't change? And I think that's why I love this process so much because I believe that in order to really get sustainable behavior change, because the stuff you guys do is tough, right? It is difficult. You're asking people to make a lot of significant change in their lives, and it's really not easy. So, to get a potential client on board and excited, they really need to know what's at stake, right? It's their big why. So when going gets tough and the change becomes difficult to sustain later, they're going to be able to draw upon this conversation and go, oh, yeah, that's why. That's why I need to change. It's really, really powerful. So I almost look at this conversation as kind of like preliminary, it's a preliminary kind of coaching conversation prior to digging in and doing the nitty gritty. All right, that's just how I look at it. And the beauty is it moves them closer to along that spectrum of readiness to change. Okay, really super cool. All right, so is everyone clear on that? On the idea that, you are going to really, really get more in depth in terms of the emotions. Oh, look at Oh my goodness. Okay. Hey, Marissa, how are you? Okay. Oh, okay. So yeah, is such a good question. So Marissa asks, how do you deal with, if they start to cry? So it does happen because there are a lot of pent-up emotions, right? So, all right, I would give them a little bit of space, right? I would not shy away from them kind of spilling their emotions because really it's kind of a good sign, even though it may make us feel uncomfortable. Um, in my process, as you may remember, because we've worked together, after we give them a little space to talk about their pain and struggle, what I like to do is I like to give them one tip. Okay. My favorite way is to give them a tip in the form of a client success story. And what that tends to do is it kind of moves their focus, it kind of shifts things a little bit to, okay, there's hope, right? It does shift them into there's hope. But to be clear, a patient or client crying, is not necessarily a bad thing. I would just have empathy, just show empathy, right? Like, gosh, you've been through a lot. Clearly, you've been through a lot. Clearly, this means a lot to you, right? Um, and I honestly, I think that just the way the conversation rolls out, you're going to be able to help them to move in next phase. I hope the next step, which is the vision. So I think again, foundation is please don't skip steps. I would say just don't skip steps, even though it can be tempting. Really try to follow the blueprint, and because I find that we give them space to talk about the pain, which can be very difficult and emotional, and then we move to the hope, which is the vision. How would their life change as a result of being able to move closer to that beautiful vision that they have for their future? If they were able to, you know, um, rectify the challenges, right? Their health challenges. What would life look like? What would they be able to do, be, or have as a result of moving closer to that vision? So I would ask them. So step number 3 is really helping them to articulate their vision. And now the word vision is kind of coachy, right? It is. It's language really drawn from my experience in the coaching world. If you're not comfortable using that particular language, I want to encourage you shift the language so it sounds more like you. You can ask them what their goals are. Goals are fine. What specifically would you like to achieve? And then I would say, what would that look like? How would that make you feel? Right? What would achieving those goals, what would you be able to do, be, or have as a result of moving closer to achieving those goals? And this is going to also just like it's kind of like a balance. We talk about the struggles, but we also give them space to talk about what their vision is and what their lives could be like if they're able to move closer to achieving those goals. So I hope that helps. But you do want to give them space to really feel their emotions. But you don't want the crying to go on. You know what I mean? Like there's a balance, right? hopefully, hopefully that helps. But I think just giving them a tip, well, like let me share with you, acknowledge how they feel, right? You're going to kind of you know acknowledge what you're seeing. Oh my gosh, this clearly you've really struggled, this means a lot to you. And then you're going to move to maybe giving them one tip to get them started. And guys, the tip part is not on your sheet. There's several sub steps to this that are not on this particular PDF. Suffice it to say that after you go through the pain points, you could give one tip. And I would just say that the tip, if you decide to give one, is not a tip like it, you want to be strategic about your tip, right? It doesn't mean like you're doing the work for free. It's just it could be something that they could implement in order to get themselves moving forward. All right. So again, step number 3 is to create the vision, and you are going to go deeper than just surface level. You're going to, just like you did with the pain points, you're helping them to connect with the emotion around what life could be like if they were actually able to move towards achieving that vision or those goals. All right, so the next step, which is step number 4, is to boldly present the offer. And I would just say, I mean, there's a lot of nuances to presenting your offer, but basically, at this point in the conversation, I feel like you know pretty well if they're a good fit. You definitely know if they're committed, right? Um, and And the other thing is, I would really only invite people into working with you if you really think they're a good fit. Like, I don't think, I mean, sometimes people are just not a good fit, right? And so you might have like a backup or something else that you can offer them. In a perfect world, with no such thing, right? But in a perfect world, you actually would, have some mechanism in place to screen people. Okay, so to screen out potential, maybe people that perhaps aren't a great fit for whatever it is you do. Okay, so I do want to mention that because ultimately, we want to be investing our time, especially in this type of conversation with potential clients that, at least we think are a good fit. Show of hands, how many of you have like some kind of a screening device before you get on the phone with potential clients? Just let me know in the chat because I do think this is super important. And there's all kinds of different ways that you can approach it, but I do really want to encourage you to, get some information. I'm not suggesting you need a full medical history. Okay? It's not the kind of screening device I'm looking for where you're attempting to assess where they are. Are they their commitment, right? Commitment or energy. Okay, so let's see. Okay, so a comment here is I'm in. I almost like everyone. Okay, even problem people, LOL. Yeah, I get it. And yeah, I would just say, how is that serving you, right? How is it working? If it's working great, I'm not one to say, oh, well, let's fix things that aren't broken. But just based on your message, the sense I get is that it's probably not working that great, right? So I would encourage you. So, I know this is super hard, especially in this day and age, right? But I encourage you to be almost a little pickier about who you put into like your flagship program, because at the end of the day, you want people that are going to get results. You really, really do. People that are going to do it. And so, yeah, I got it. If you're enough clients, okay, I don't have enough clients, so I want to help anyone that wants to work with me. Okay, got it. So I suppose it depends on, I mean, I get it. I guess there's not a whole lot. Would just be reason of want to invite people into your flagship program, really in a perfect world, and you really encourage it. And that, maybe where you will present your offer. Oh, let's say you're on the phone and you really it's like, oh, I don't know if this person, instead of getting them into, program or package, what you could do is maybe give them a little homework of some sort and say, here's my sense, just kind of give them an overview, and I've actually done this before, guys, in rehab. I say, "I'm this sense that you're sure." Okay, so I work with practitioners for starting a or those that want to grow a practice. And so I do remember a couple of occasions where, the person was really not sure that they wanted to start a practice. Like, I don't want to I don't want to take just someone's money. Right? That's the honest truth. If you're not sure. So I do remember one time I just said, here's what I sense. I'm sensing some ambivalence. So what I recommend is I can't remember what I suggested. Might have been as simple as, how about if we take a week or just kind of reflect on our conversation thus far? How about we reconnect next week? I want to give you a little space to really think about our conversation. Don't decide if indeed you want to move forward with even starting a practice. Okay. So that's just an example of potentially what you could do. But again, do what you think is best, obviously. Oops. Okay. All right. All right. So keep going. Let's see, try to remove. All right. All right, guys. So boldly present your offer is the next step. Okay. Boldly offer you is the most important thing, and really the thing that almost everybody, most people, and I really, really want you to kind of understand. You're thinking, okay, this person fit, in the program. So the thing I want to share is like ever the feelings step, right? I would say, yeah, give me yes if you're uh, oh, yeah, sure that you get to this. So what I recommend is instead of rolling, just feeling like, okay, I got to get to the offer next. What I would do is kind of slow down. I would summarize what you've heard so far, right? Okay, so here's what I've heard going with X, Y, Z, and this is really impacting you on a good level because it's doing this, right? Yeah, you're doing this, and achieving that vision or moving closer would be great. Would help you. Just a quick summary. This helps them to feel heard, understood. And then I probably would, on a scale of 1 to 10, how important is it to go from here to here? So ask a question, check in with them in some way before you actually go into the offer. So then you're going to, let's just assume that the person's like, oh my God, it's a 10, it's the most important thing in my whole life. Yeah, if I was able to achieve this, everything would, all right. So and the thing that I really want to make sure that you're clear on here is that instead of right into the logistics, like, okay, so program, here's how long it is, here's the number of sessions, and here's all the things. I'm encouraging you not to, all right? Like, well, what do I do? What I do instead is focus on the results first. You can say this by, just preface it by saying, okay, so I have a program called such, and it's designed to help you to blank. Just kind of fill in the blanks with those 10 results that are possible. Uh, if that's one of the big mistakes I see, the reality is people buy from you, or they start to work with you, want results. They really want results. You're not guaranteed. So I do want to be clear. I'm not saying you're going to get all of these things, but what you're doing is you're just saying the program is designed to deliver these things, right? And you're basing it on your observation of reality. So it's really important when you're moving into the offer. And you don't want to be like backpedaling when you talk about the money. You don't want to be trying to explain it. Like, don't do those things. Just be really confident. Just like I say here, boldly present your offer. But with the caveat, you want to really focus on results first. All right. Okay, so let's move into the next one, which is step 5, which is overcoming rejection. And um, the one thing I would say about this is I would really try to get underneath the objections before you get off that call, right? So I know at this point we're like, oh God, I can't wait for this to end. Instead of thinking that way, I would just encourage you to, really try to get a sense of where the person stands. And if they have an objection or a concern, you make really make an effort to deal with that in that first call, because the reality is you may not get a second chance. Okay. And that's just the truth. So you want to get underneath what he or she is thinking in that moment before you get off the call. All right. Um, just a quick note on objections. So those of you that grabbed the infographic, you are also invited to a webinar on Tuesday. Okay. So Tuesday, the 27th, I'm going to do kind of a more formal webinar, and it's called No More Hearing No. I'm going to take you much deeper into these steps, and I'm going to talk more about how to help your potential client get out of their own way, how to help them overcome their objections. Okay. So mark your calendars, and I really love it if you could join me. If you've got friends and colleagues who would be get out of the way. They won't. They wouldn't be on if they didn't. Your job is to not, like, if they say, "Oh my gosh, it's more than I thought it was going to be," or I have to ask my spouse, or whatever it is. Your job is to approach it from curiosity. I would say that's my best advice. Tell me more about that, and just really help them to get out of their own way. Most of the time, do is, okay, sounds good. Let me know, right? And just encourage you to do that, because almost always that is not going to end well. All right. Okay. Now, the last step is integrate strategies. And really what this is once you say yes, you want to, you don't want to dawdle, is the bottom line. Reason is a thing called buyer's remorse. Okay? And it's real. And really what it's about, it's not, if this ever happens to you, it really is not about you. It's about your client, right? Them kind of freaking out and just themselves out and second guessing their decision. Okay. So, do that, get them started right away. Right away. Get them started. Kind of dawdle. Get them started with, like, in your calendar right away. I would say my recommendation is don't wait, like, don't even send them all the links. Like, I would get them in Practice Better or whatever your platform is, right on the spot. Get them enrolled on the spot. If you just send them to enroll themselves, like, a lot of times they'll change their minds, right? They're like, oh, I think I did the wrong thing. So don't do that. That's my best advice. Get them started right away. Okay. And so that's the stick strategies. And what is the end result of integrating is more high paying clients, many, many more. I speak the truth. I mean, I'm thinking back now to when I learned this system myself in my business, and it was the biggest game changer ever. Okay. So you can do all the marketing in the world, all the stuff, but if you cannot seal the deal, you do not have viable business, right? So you've got to sorry if my video is in and out. I'm kind of getting the sense that it is. Hopefully, it's not too bad. Um, I hope to see you Tuesday. I'm going to go into more depth. I'll be I'll be at home in my office where I've got, stable internet. So, the video will be probably better. It'll be higher quality, but I hope this got you thinking. And I really hope that you will integrate these 6 steps and join me Tuesday. Please share with your friends and hope to see you again. All right, guys. Let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear your big takeaway. Can you guys do me a favor and say, okay, this was my number one big takeaway from everything I learned today? That would help me out a lot too. All right, guys. Hope you have a wonderful rest of your day, an awesome weekend, and I'll see you Tuesday. Um, I think it's 7 p.m. Central, but double check whatever your email says. I'm pretty sure it's 7 p.m. Central. And hope to see you then. All right, guys, have a great day. Bye for now.